Hey there, welcome. Mary Beth here from mbtcreates.com, and today on Tunisian Tuesday Part 6, we're going to learn the smock stitch and make this cute little cowl if you want. But whether you want to make the cowl or not, we are absolutely going to learn the smock stitch. This is another stitch with a standard return. It's a 2-row repeat, and I especially like it in yarn like this that has a long color repeat. Now, this video is not sponsored, but just so you know, this is Facets yarn from Michaels. It is a Loops and Threads brand. It is an unplied acrylic with a nice slow repeat, and I bought a bunch of it when it was on sale, so you're going to be seeing a lot of it on this channel. Anyway, to get started with your swatch, if you want to do a swatch, you can just do a Tunisian simple stitch row over an even number of stitches. And if you want to make the cowl like we did here, just zip over to the blog and you can see the pattern. But I chained 61, did a single crochet row, a double crochet row, and a single crochet row so that I would have 60 stitches. And then I picked up my Tunisian simple stitch through the top of the single crochets, which we have done here for the last 5 weeks of Tunisian Tuesday. So I highly recommend you check out one of the other videos if you need a little refresher there. Let's jump right in and get right into the pattern stitching. Now, you want to make sure in your first row of Tunisian crochet, which we always do in simple stitch, that you have an even number of stitches. And I feel like I've started 27 videos with that first row, so please check out one of the other videos in the Tunisian Tuesday series if you want to look at that first row again. So here are all my stitches, and I do love this stitch in a multicolor. I just like different colors popping on top of each other. So it's a 2-row repeat once you have it established, and here's the first row. I'm going to skip the first vertical bar, as we pretty much always do. I'm going to insert my hook through 2 vertical bars as one, yarn over and draw up a loop. Pretty standard so far. Now for smock stitch, we want to yarn under. Normally in Tunisian crochet and traditional crochet we yarn over, but for this stitch we want to yarn under. And because we're going to yarn under and then pick up some more stitches, this loop wants to get in the way and come off and be wacky. So once you get that yarn under done, you're going to have to come up with a way to keep it in place with your finger. I find that I sort of fall into a rhythm after a while. So let's look a little closer and you can see how I do it. Now, we're going to pick up 2 stitches. But the first one tends to want to recess, and I'm going to give you a little tip on how to make sure you're getting the right one. See this kind of U shape here? And you see how it's pulling through, and I've already gone through one of them? That's how I know the other one is this guy right here. So look at my pointer finger. I have it holding that yarn under. I'm going to take this vertical bar, and then the next vertical bar is pretty easy to see. Still having to hold on, because if I let go, that yarn under is going to disappear. And I'm going to yarn over at that point, because that's what we normally do, and bring it through 2 and keep that loop up on the hook. Yarn under. Go to the next 2 stitches. I'm crocheting very loosely here because that's what I wanted my cowl to look like, and I always say that many problems in Tunisian crochet can be solved by using a bigger hook, but this is a pretty open stitch, but I also feel like it's easier for you to see. Yarn under. So let's look again, and this is what I mean. See how if I'm just holding the fabric like this, that's the stitch I want to go under, but it kind of hides. But if I want to double check that it's the right one, see that little U shape, that little strand that's going through the 2 below, that's telling me that's where I want to be. So I'm holding onto the yarn under, going under that vertical bar and the next one. Yarn over and draw up a loop. Once that loop is up there, then I can let go. So yarn under, See that guy trying to hide? That's what I mean. And sometimes the other way to kind of find it is to pull that mesh up, and then you can see a little better. Yarn under, go under that stitch and the next one, yarn over and draw through 2, let everything go. So when I get to the end, I'm going to put in an edge stitch. I'll come back and show you that just as a little review. All right, we have 3 stitches remaining. We're going to go through both the next 2. Yarn over and draw them up, and then yarn under and make our edge stitch. And remember, for the edge stitch, we're going under the last vertical bar and the strand right behind it. Yarn over and draw up a loop. Now, I highly recommend that you count, because the ends of these rows can be just the least little bit fiddly. So go ahead and double count. Make sure you have the right number of stitches. It will be the same number of stitches you started with, and it will be an even number. And then we're going to do our standard return, which is yarn over, draw through 1, or chain 1, however you like to think of it. Yarn over, draw through 2, over and over and over and over again, until only 1 loop remains on your hook. So once again, you can see our smocked stitches are sort of laying on top of the other stitches. And I do like it in a multicolor yarn like this. You get stripes without having to do any kind of work. Now, for the alternate rows, the second row of the pattern, it's the same idea as the first row, except we're going to offset it by 1 stitch. So for the first stitch, we're going to just Tunisian simple stitch in that first stitch after the edge stitch. Because remember, we always skip that first edge stitch. So I'm going to do a Tunisian simple stitch in that first vertical bar after the edge. And now same deal. I'm going to go under the next 2 stitches, and the first one might be a little bit fiddly to find until you develop a rhythm. Yarn over, draw through 2, and then yarn under. Remember that the picking up the stitches is followed by the yarn under, so that will help you remember not to put a yarn under here until after you go through 2 stitches at the same time. So you have your edge stitch, your Tunisian simple stitch, then insert your hook through 2, your Tunisian simple stitch 2 together basically, and then your yarn under. So when I get to the end and I have 2 stitches remaining, I'm going to Tunisian simple stitch and then edge stitch. Let's go take a look at that. Here we are. That was my yarn under. I have 2 stitches remaining. So one is going to be a Tunisian simple stitch, and one is going to be my edge stitch, where I go under the last vertical bar and the strand right behind it. Once again, count. This is a good place to count and make sure you have the same number of stitches that you started with. And then we're going to go ahead and do our standard return. So that is all you need to know about the smock stitch. In Tunisian crochet, you're just going to alternate those 2 rows. If you are going to make the cowl, stick with me and come back in a minute, and I'll show you how to put the single crochet edging neatly on the top row of the Tunisian crochet. So when your cowl is as tall as you want it to be, or if you're just doing a smock stitch piece and you want to finish it off, you need to close that open row. Now, if I was doing another kind of a piece, I would probably use a slip stitch, a traditional crochet slip stitch in this operation. But since I want to put a traditional crochet border on the top to match the one on the bottom, I'm going to single crochet. So normally I tell you to do your finishing in the same way that you would do the next row. But here's the problem with this stitch pattern, is because of the yarn overs, I didn't love it trying to mimic the stitch pattern that I was already doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet in each vertical bar across. Now, that last row is not going to look exactly like all the other rows under it, but when I tried to put a yarn over in there, or an extra single crochet, or that kind of thing. I didn't love it. It looked gappy and not what I was looking for. So again, for the cowl, you can use a single crochet. For if you're just using this stitch pattern to make a piece, you can slip stitch. But you see, it's just pulling up the vertical bars and putting our slip stitch or our single crochet in there. What you don't want to do is like go into the gaps and go through the back. Just pull the bars up and go ahead and do your finishing piece. So I'm going to put this second border on and sew up my side seam and bring it back so you can get one more look at it. So here we are all finished up. I am going to have to weigh this and see how much yarn it took, but it was not even a full skein, and I'm here to tell you I bought a lot of this yarn, so you're going to be seeing more of it. Anyway, here it is, all seamed up. You can make it wider by adding stitches, and of course you can make it taller or shorter by adjusting the rows. And you do see the seam. We do have a seam going on here. But I haven't gotten around to making tutorials on Tunisian crochet in the round. That might be coming up soon. And if you have any requests for Tunisian Tuesday, let me know in the comments below. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next week for the next Tunisian Tuesday.